How'd you characterize the round today?
Solid. You know, I played really well. I a little ticked off that I bogeyed 17, but you know, that's a hard hole. They had the tee back today, and that fairway is really hard to hit. I actually hit a great tee ball, barely rolled through, and ended up just making a bogey from there. But overall, game feels really good. Iron game feels sharp, and definitely felt like today I putted a lot better, which was a big key in me shooting a good number again.
Was there anything that kind of maybe like clicked with the putting on over 100 feet of putts made today?
No, really just green reading. You know, after the round yesterday, I felt like I misread a few putts, so I just went out there with my caddy and did a few green reading drills, kind of put some coins out, made sure they were breaking the way I thought they were, and seemed like today I saw the lines a little better. It kind of matched up with what I was seeing, and some putts dropped.
I got nothing, Aaron. I'm just curious what a line drill looks like. You just throw coins and.
So basically, I typically do it on like 15 to 20 foot putts, and I'll put like 3 little gates down, probably like 6 inches apart. Probably one at like 5 feet,
from the hole? Okay.
10 feet, 15 feet, and then obviously the hole's at 20 feet. And then just try and match up like where the ball's breaking, get it to break through the gates every time, and just hit like 10 of them so that I can kind of ingrain in my brain like, all right, when I see this much slope, it's breaking this much, and I need this kind of speed. So
How much time did that take?
I probably did it for a half hour yesterday.
Wow.
So it can depend. I think I did 2 putts yesterday. So if I want to do more, it takes longer, shorter.
Did you misread anything today? I mean,
I think I misread a couple. You know, the pins are really tucked out there, and some of them, they've done a good job of hiding them on crowns, where like 90% of your putt's uphill, but then the last couple feet are downhill and away from you, or 90% of it's breaking right to left, and then the last few feet it does the opposite. So it's a lot of just kind of guessing how much where the grain or where the break's going to change and how much it's going to change it from there. So
I've asked this question a ton this week. I'm just curious what guys. I think the actual question was, "What are you doing here?" What I meant by that is, what do you try to accomplish out of this time of the year?
This time of the year, you know, for me, at least for this year, I mean, obviously moving forward it might change, but you're trying to get a good start. I mean, obviously there's a break after it, but it still counts for next season, right? And you're trying to get as far ahead as you can and for me specifically, like I don't play all that well on some of the West Coast. So the better I play here, the more I can maybe take off on the West Coast and kind of wait for the Florida swing to hit where I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable on the golf courses.
It makes perfect sense for a West Coast guy.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
I don't get it, man. I love Torrey. I love Riv. I love a lot of the courses over there, but I just don't seem to play them all that well. But you know, hopefully I'm waiting for it to change. I'm working on my game, getting better, and hopefully at some point it can click and I can play well there.
Are you still going back?
Oh, yeah. I'll go back, you know.
With low expectations.
It's one of those things. I think I've played Torrey 4 times, missed the cut every year, and last year was the first time I made the cut at Riv. So we're trending. We're trending. Thank you.
Do you do Pebble?
I've done Pebble before. Pebble's actually one that fits me pretty well. It's just one of those weeks with 3 courses, and the weather is a big factor on whether you kind of play it, just because it can turn into a really, really long week, especially getting into some of the elevated events we're going to have right after it.
Forget the elevated events for a minute. If you were being honest, is Pebble the only tournament where a week out you look at the weather forecast before you hit the button?
100%. Not even close, yeah. The weather can be great there, and it's one of the best weeks of the year, and if you have to play 4 rounds in cold, rain, windy, it's not much fun. So that's definitely the event you look at the most at the weather to see if you're going to play it or not.
When you look at what you like to do, have you looked ahead next year? Is there any trouble spots for you in terms of areas of the schedule that's going to really be compact?
Compact, yeah, for sure. Like you go Waste Management, Riv, Honda's one of my favorite tournaments. It's a home event for me. And then you go Bay Hill Players, and I don't really want to play 5 in a row. So that's one where you're kind of looking at, like, for example, for me personally, I don't play really well at Riv, and I play great at Honda, but Riv's an elevated event with a smaller field and, you know, a huge purse. So it's going to be a tricky game to figure out which ones I play, which ones I don't. But I lean pretty heavily on Dodo, who's my stat guy. So he'll kind of run some numbers and see based on world ranking points and money and whatnot, like which ones make sense and which ones don't for me to play in.
What's a normal number for you for a season?
For a season, I'm typically like 23 to 25.
Okay.
So definitely not a problem with all the events they have, because I think it totals like 17 or 18. So I'll sprinkle in a few that I want to play, but like you said, there's stretches where there's a lot of them in a short stretch, and you might end up having to take off a tournament you used to love, which is unfortunate.
What's your major schedule for the next year? You all set for them?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question: can you ever see a scenario if you really get beat down, either between the ears or your body's aching or whatever? Would you consider taking an elevated event off?
Yeah, I think it's. Luckily for me, I mean, well, unluckily and luckily, I wasn't in the PIP this year, so I'm not required to play all of them, to my understanding. So that's still an option for me. I think those guys wouldn't have the option, but for me, it's definitely something. Like, I look at Riv and Honda, and if my stats guy comes back and says, "Look, it makes a ton of sense for you to play Honda because you're going to earn more world ranking points there," which is what I care about the most. Then it might be a thing where I take off Riv and play Honda just because it suits me better, which is,
better odds.
Like I said, unlucky, but a lucky situation.
See, what's going to happen is you're going to skip Riv next year and go miss the cut at Honda. That's just the way.
Not.
That's just the way it works.
We'll see.
Do you think? Can you ever see a scenario where a guy who is PIP eligible takes a week off?
I don't know.
I would think it'd be lower down on the PIP level. I can't see a guy giving up $8 million or something.
I don't know, one, if they're allowed to, or how that works, if they're not like injured.
Well, if they don't, they just don't collect their PIP.
Yeah. So who knows? Like, for example, Tiger, I highly doubt Tiger's playing all of them. So where does he stand in all that?
He has an exemption.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I think they said if you win 15 majors, you're exempt, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay. But for example, like Cantlay is another guy. Cantlay tends to play 16, 17 events a year.
Yeah.
So 20 is a lot for him,
Yeah.
It's one of those things where that's just kind of going to have to be a business decision that they're going to have to make.
Pat's going to be miserable next year.
We'll get to see a lot of them, though.
Thank you.
All good. Thanks.